Hello, Sam here from Qobuz Systems, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how we can integrate Fusion Research streamers into nice home management. Fusion Research are manufacturers of audio and video servers and are the choice of streamer that we distribute here at Qobuz Systems alongside Casitunes. Fusion Research streamers have access to many streaming services such as BBC Sounds or SoundCloud, SoundMachine, Tidal. It has deep level Spotify integration and also AirPlay too. It uses 192 kHz 24-bit sound sampling to provide high-res, lossless audio quality. The first thing you want to do is set up the streamer standalone and operating from its own application. And that's like anything that you want to pull into nice home management. You want to set it up standalone mode first, make sure it's all working from its own application, and you just pull that project into the nice system. And that does apply for lighting, climate and security as well. So Rayco or Lutron lighting, call automation, or even Textcom alarm systems. Make sure it's operating standalone on its own application first before pulling it into the nice home management. So the third-party system just gets pulled into nice. And if it's half working, then that's all nice is going to pull in, just a half working system. But of course, I know that with projects, they work in stages. So you might only have a house that's got half the lighting working. So just want to make sure that your customers are aware that only half the lighting is going to work in the nice home management system because only half of it's working on its own application as well. And when the project is further progressed or even completed, you can then update the nice driver to pull in the rest of the third-party system into the project. Anyway, Fusion Research, I need to set this up standalone. I'll be using the OMS configuration utility to set up the streamer. I've got the Mac version, which isn't around anymore, so it's only Windows based, but there is an app for iOS and Android, so fear not if you are a Mac user. Open up the software and I press connect. It will automatically search for the players on the network, and there's my solo. Highlight it and then press select. We now get this status page where I can set up the network settings. It tells me the outputs I have and if the engine's running and what streaming services I have running as well. I'd advise assigning your player on a static IP address outside of the DHCP pool, or reserve the IP address in the router. I leave mine on DHCP because I take my player around on my nice home management training courses, so it gets moved around on different networks. So there's not really much to do on this screen. I'm going to go ahead and add Spotify to this streamer. I go to manage and then streaming music services, and here I can enter the details of any other services that I want to put onto this streamer, but I'm going to click on Spotify. And it brings up this window where I need to input my Spotify credentials. And just a note at the bottom here, it says Spotify integration requires one or more paid accounts, so you can't use a free Spotify account on this streamer. So you put in your details. My Spotify credentials are already in here, so you go ahead and press OK. I'm going to press cancel. Next, we need to create the custom homepage, and this will show the streaming services available to us in the Fusion app and also on Nice. So we go to integration and custom home. We've got a few options here in the drop down. Default is where we put the selected entries that are in the left window here across both outputs. So output 1 and 2 will show the same sources. Then we have output 1 and output 2. So output 1 and output 2 can then have different sources as well. Mine is set to default, and the selected entries are favourites, Spotify and playlists. On the right side window are the available sources. In the drop down we have local music, streaming services and other. Local music is to show a mapped NAS drive's music sources on the end user interface. Streaming for things like Spotify, SoundMachine, Tidal, etc. And then other is where we can get our internet radio services, so TuneIn. Select what you want and add it to the selected entry. So I'm going to add internet radio and press save, and that's all done. Now I can head over to the Fusion app on my phone and check that it's all working okay. So my app has found the player, and under the Browse tab I have Spotify, My Music, Radio, Favourites and Apps. If I go to Spotify, I can search and browse just like I can on the Spotify app. So I'll search for Blink 182, I've got the options for artists, albums, playlists and tracks by the band. If I go to artists and Blink-182 and top tracks, it shows me their top tracks. So I'll choose Anthem Part 3, and now that's playing. So we've established that the Fusion player is working standalone mode with its own app. So I'm going to choose another song so I don't get a copyright strike on this channel, and I'll choose a song by the artist Lemon Jelly. A nice chilled out song. Anyway, you could then go in and check internet radio, make sure that's all working as well. But now we're ready to bring the Fusion player into Nice. I'm going to show how to add the Fusion player into configurator V1 and also V2. V2 is much easier, but I want to show both ways anyway. So you download the driver from Fusion's website along with their integration note, which I highly recommend that you read when you're integrating. And that just goes for anything that you're integrating into Nice as well. Read the integration notes. You place the driver in your drivers folder, and now we go to configurator V1. Now in configurator V1, you can't add the Ovation server as a communication device. We have to browse for it as a source to point to the directory where the driver lives, and then we map it to Nice. Mine's already mapped, but under media, I go to sources, right click and add a new media player. And we want to search folder. I go to the drivers folder where the driver lives and press OK. And there it is, Fusion Ovation Server driver. Close this window as we've now mapped the driver location to Nice. And now we go to communication devices. Right click on communication devices and we should see Ovation Server and add that in. Once that's added in, we just need to supply the IP address and the driver will discover the players on the system. So mine's on 192.168.7.123. Press apply and then got add players. We can see that it's pulled in the two outputs from my solo. Remember, I've got the USB DAC on my player connected, so it will show up as two outputs. And that's done. Now we just assign it to an input on the amplifier. So on my zone controllers and media, I've got my 8-channel amp. Press the expand button to show the source inputs, and I'll assign output 1 to analog input 1. And that's done. If this was a fresh install, you'd set up all your zone configuration, which I'm showing here. So whether you want the TVs to turn on or off, and if you want the TV to go to a certain HDMI input, for instance, and the order that you want your sources to show. And the config is done. So I'll show you it in configurator V2 now, and the only step that is different is when we have to bring in the communication device. We can now do that straight from the communication devices tab. So in configurator V2, if I go to media, communication devices, right click and add a new communication device, I can now directly import the server driver. And after that's imported, setup is exactly the same as in configurator V1. Put in the IP address, discover the players, and then assign them to the relevant input on the amp. You can obviously rename the outputs as well of the player. All done. So let's take a look at the end user interface now. So I'm going to go to my management cloud viewer. I go to media and office, and I have output 1, which you can rename, like I said, should you want to. In there is favorites, Spotify, playlists, and TuneIn, the services that I set up earlier on in the configuration utility. You can reorder these in the configuration utility should you want to. So for example, you can have playlists at the end of this list of selected sources. So let's try it out. Let's go to TuneIn, local radio, all United Kingdom, national networks, Absolute Radio, and press play. I can then add this to favourites by pressing the little heart button. So if I go back to the stream selection and go into favourites, there it is. Now let's try Spotify. Let's go into Spotify. I've got top tracks. Let's have a look. Got Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift. I won't play the audio for copyright reasons, so let's find a song that I can play. That's that Lemon Jelly one again, so I've got it in my search history here. So that's now playing. We can add that to favourites by pressing the heart icon. And now if I go back and go to favourites, there's the song there. And there's also another icon, the plus icon or add icon. If I press that, it adds the song to the queue. If I go back to the now playing screen and go into the queue, there's the songs I've just added. I can then make a playlist out of these songs, which then goes into the playlist section. We can also add favourites at the source level. If I go back to select sources, there is a favourites tab. If I press that and press the cog, I can add favourites that I've added in the Fusion favourites. If I now click on the artwork for the song, I can update the favourites image. If I go back to the favourites now, the song has nice artwork. And if you want to add services or remove them, just head back to the OMS utility software and make that change. So if I want to remove playlists, for instance, I go to Integration, Custom Home, and move playlists from selected to available and press save. The nice interface takes a minute to update. You can always just switch between pages, but it will remove that option eventually. I hope this video has been of some help or interest to you. And if you are interested in becoming an Elan certified dealer, then get in touch with us today at sales@aldussystems.co.uk. Thanks again for watching.